Philip Zimbardo, The Lucifer Effect, Understanding How Good People Turn Evil. In The Lucifer Effect, Understanding How Good People Turn Evil, psychologist Philip Zimbardo explores the complex nature of human character and the captivating power of situational forces. Delving into real-life case studies, such as the infamous Abu Ghraib torture prison, and experiments like the notorious Milgram study and the Stanford Prison Experiment, Zimbardo exposes the permeable line separating good and evil. This book summary takes you on a journey through the intricacies of human behavior and highlights situational factors that may lead to the transformation of ordinary individuals into agents of evil or heroes in waiting.
The permeability of good and evil. Our behavior is not solely determined by inborn traits. Situational causes can take a toll. Have you ever taken something that wasn't yours when no one was watching? We all have committed some petty theft at some point, and it indicates our willingness to do things we never would have thought of in a different context, or perhaps if someone was watching us. However, most people still hold on to the idea that certain individuals are just born saints and others are born evil. This book's summary argues that the line between good and evil is highly permeable. The case of Ivan "Chip" Frederick, a former staff sergeant in the U.S. Army who was one of the guards at Abu Ghraib prison, is an excellent example. Prior to his tenure at the prison, Frederick was a patriotic young man with comparatively average IQ and no psychopathological traits. But his behavior transformed drastically in Abu Ghraib and he became a cruel sadist. When people commit evil deeds, we assume that they are evil-natured. Psychiatry has the same view, with a focus on dispositional causes, such as genetic character and pathologies, that cause our behavior. However, Frederick's case suggests that situational causes played a more significant role than his character traits. This book's summary suggests that we must understand the real causes of evil behavior that lie in other factors, which will be discussed in the upcoming parts. The bottom line is that our behavior is not solely determined by inborn traits and that situational causes can take a severe toll. Human behavior and the situational approach. Human behavior is not static, and personalities are not permanent. Who we are and how we act depends on the social context and circumstances in which we find ourselves. This is what the situational approach to human behavior is all about. According to this perspective, we are one person when we are with our loved ones and someone else when talking to our boss. The famous Milgram experiment demonstrated how under the right circumstances, ordinary people could become capable of doing monstrous things. Despite the learner's seeming distress, most teachers continued increasing the shock level. This shows how situational factors can influence human behavior. The shocking transformation of normal people. In an experiment conducted in 1971, normal male students were randomly assigned to play the roles of guards and prisoners in a mock prison at Stanford University. The experiment was intended to last for 2 weeks, but after only 6 days, it had to be stopped due to the extreme brutality inflicted on the prisoners by the guards. This experiment challenges the belief that only evil people can commit heinous acts by demonstrating how ordinary people can easily become sadistic and abusive when put in positions of power and authority. The dark side of obedience. This book excerpt delves into the factors that turn good people evil, specifically highlighting the role of obedience to authority. The Milgram experiment is used as an example, demonstrating how participants prioritized obedience over empathy when urged by those in positions of power and trust. The author also examines how authority figures themselves can turn from good to evil, citing the tragic example of the Jonestown Massacre. Jim Jones, originally viewed as a caring father figure, transformed into a tyrannical leader who was able to convince his followers to commit mass suicide. The excerpt warns of the dangers of blindly obeying authority figures, urging readers to question and challenge those in power. The Power of Anonymity. This summary explores how anonymity can cause de-individuation, leading to a lack of personal responsibility and increased likelihood of evil behavior. The Milgram experiment and the Stanford Prison Experiment demonstrate the effects of disguising one's appearance, while the New York and Palo Alto field experiments show how anonymity in a setting can affect behavior. The author concludes that the presence of a sense of community can prevent de-individuation and encourage personal accountability. The Psychology of Dehumanization. Most people consider themselves morally upright, but history tells a different story. Dehumanization is a crucial justification for cruel behavior towards other humans. It is a process of ceasing to consider someone fully human. In a Stanford study, punishment varied depending on how groups were described by researchers. The animalistic group was punished more severely than the humanized group. Dehumanization is a critical factor in understanding racism, prejudice, and discrimination. When people are stigmatized as inhuman, they become targets of cruelty. The rape of Nanking is a notable example of how dehumanization can result in atrocities. Japanese soldiers massacred Chinese civilians because they saw them as things, not people like themselves. Words of evil. The cover story in social psychology experiments is comparable to ideology, which can be used to justify evil actions as good deeds in real life. This power of ideology is seen in the U.S. invasion of Iraq and the subsequent torture committed at the Abu Ghraib prison, where torture was reclassified as legal and soldiers believed they were protecting national security. The ability to wrap evil actions in words that make them sound good is a dangerous enabler of evil and asks the question of what it takes to be a good person. Resisting evil and becoming a hero. The article discusses strategies to resist evil and become a hero. It emphasizes personal responsibility in decision-making and the importance of questioning unjust authority and ideologies. The definition of heroes is also explored, highlighting the characteristics of taking action and putting others before oneself. The author encourages readers to focus on becoming a hero in waiting and to act accordingly in difficult situations.
Philip Zimbardo's The Lucifer Effect uncovers the astounding impact of situational factors and social contexts on human behavior. It challenges traditional beliefs about good and evil by diving deep into controversial experiments and real-life case studies. These investigations reveal that obedience, de-individuation, dehumanization, and ideological cover stories can transform seemingly good people into monsters. However, resisting these forces is possible through greater self-awareness, defiance of unjust authority, and the questioning of harmful ideologies. Furthermore, the book encourages readers to foster their potential for heroism and empathy, affirmatively acknowledging the inherent potential for good in each person.